Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about a new release from Disney called Cruella. This is a origin story about Cruella de Vil from the 101 Dalmatian movies, both animated and live action. Obviously, this time around we don't have Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil like we did in those older live action movies. We have Emma Stone playing a younger version of Cruella de Vil, and we also kind of track all the way back to um, even her early childhood years leading up to the Cruella de Vil that we all know from those 101 Dalmatian movies. So, in this movie, though, you guys, and by the way, this movie is available both in theaters and on Disney Plus on Premier Access. So you can stream it on Disney Plus. There's just an additional cost to stream the movie. Um, but in this movie, though, you guys, in Cruella, we do follow Cruella through her early years. Um, Her real name is actually Estella, but her mother calls her Cruella since she sees kind of a darker side to her, kind of a side that's always kind of taking over her and sometimes um, not always doing like the best choices in life and things like that. So at an early stage, her mother sees this in Estella, I should say, with Cruella being her nickname. And so Cruella goes about her life and she wants to be a fashion designer. She's always intrigued by this lady that her mom works for that runs these fashion design shows and basically has like the best dresses in town. It's kind of a big deal if you work for her and things like that. Um, so basically, over the years, as we'll just call her Cruella the rest of the review because we all know that that is Cruella de Vil that we're talking about. So as Cruella grows up, she obviously learns more and more about fashion designing. She also grows up with these two like thieves slash burglar guys that she meets at a young age. And so when a tragic thing happens to her in her past, she kind of has nowhere to go, and she really just has these two brothers that kind of take care of her and things like that, and run errands for her and willing to do things for her and things like that. And so eventually Cruella does land a job as like a janitor slash maiden at this fashion design place. She actually doesn't do any of the fashion design things, but she cleans the toilets and cleans the tables and things like that. But basically, she does eventually get noticed by this character played by Emma Thompson, who's kind of this character that she idolizes in her youth. That runs this big fashion design show. She always has these big gala events kind of displaying these dresses that either she supports or has made or has people that work for her that have made the dresses and things like that. And so basically she does eventually get hired through this Emma Thompson villain character, and she kind of works for her as kind of her direct assistant and things like that. She notices right away that Cruella does have a very good eye for design and dresses, and every time there's a big event that she has to either host or star in, she always knows that Cruella, or to her it's just Estella, always has like the best ideas in mind for dresses and how to kind of always win the competitions and things like that. But as the movie progresses, Cruella herself makes discoveries about this person that she once idolized, finds out some things that, and kind of puts the pieces together of some things that really kind of make her not idolize her as much as she once did. She kind of carves her own path, makes her own name for herself, kind of creating a competition for basically the woman that was her own boss at one point. And so as the movie progresses, there's kind of this fashion design competition between Cruella and her former boss, and kind of how that plays into everything, and kind of how she likes dogs but doesn't specifically like Dalmatians, and how that works into 101 Dalmatians and things like that. And that's all over the course of the film Cruella. But overall, guys, I really like this film. I was actually really intrigued by the trailers when the trailers first came out for this movie. I do remember growing up with those old 101 Dalmatian movies. I think I even had like a 101 Dalmatian video game at one point. So I definitely grew up with this. It wasn't my go-to Disney movie like Aladdin and Lion King, Sword in the Stone, all that kind of stuff was kind of more so my go-to things as a kid. But I do remember watching 101 Dalmatians, specifically the animated one. I liked the Glenn Close live action ones too. I remember growing up with those two as well. But I think it was that original animated movie that I kind of remember the most when I was a kid and things like that. Um, So I went into this film kind of with a lot of expectations. You know, I've always been impressed with Emma Stone's work. I really, really like La La Land. For those who remember my review of that movie, I gave that film a praising review. I really like that movie. Emma Stone herself was a very important part of that movie's success. So I was really excited for Cruella. Like I said, the trailers looked good. I remember the 101 Dalmatian movies as a kid and things like that. And this film did not disappoint. I'm very happy to report that this is a very, very good movie. Cruella 100% lives up to the hype, if there was any hype at all for this movie. I know a lot of people were kind of maybe a little turned off by the idea of Glenn Close not playing Cruella de Vil in a 101 Dalmatian kind of movie like this. Um, I was 100% for it. I knew the second they had Emma Stone, I knew this was going to work. And I knew that it was going to be a very kind of different take on 101 Dalmatians and things like that. So let's go over to these positives and negatives because, like I said, I do have a lot of really good things to say about this film and a couple nitpicks here and there of some things that I thought the film could have done a better job with. For my positives of Cruella, first and foremost, Emma Stone really is Cruella de Vil in this movie. She definitely 100% took on this role, definitely made the role her own. I would also say, too, it doesn't feel like she's competing with Glenn Close's approach on the character. It doesn't feel like she's competing with that original animated approach on the character. And I did recently re-watch the old animated version of 101 Dalmatians on Disney Plus recently, so I kind of got it fresh in my memory of kind of how that original Cruella de Vil vision was like in that animated movie. And I'm happy to report here, it's one of those things where Emma Stone brings everything you'd want in a Cruella de Vil role while also kind of making it her own. So I thought she did a very good job with that. She really is Cruella de Vil in this movie, and she's very, very good in the role. This film is also very stylish. It's very stylish in its craft. The director of I, Tonya worked on this movie, and you can kind of tell because both films deal with a woman kind of diving into insanity while pursuing something that they're passionate about. And both films definitely pursue that very well. This film in particular is very stylish. It definitely puts the fashion design part of the movie front and center. And I'm not big into that kind of stuff, but this movie made it interesting to me. So the fact that they were able to make something interesting that I don't normally get invested in is pretty strong from a writing point of view, I feel, and from a directing point of view. So it's just a very stylish film that's very well done in its craft. Huge thumbs up to the guy who directed I, Tonya, who directed this movie. He made a very stylish film here. This film also has a very interesting and understandable story. Yes, it is Cruella de Vil. Yes, she eventually becomes a villain in that 101 Dalmatians story. But we do kind of see where she's coming from. We do kind of see this rage and this anger and kind of this evil kind of brewing in her at an early age. Kind of like the film Joker, for those who saw that. And yes, there's a lot of things I noticed between this film and Joker that are very strong in connection, but you definitely understand the dive into insanity for the character. And as a result, it's a very interesting story and an understandable story, and you really do kind of feel sorry for her at times. Yes, she eventually becomes something later in life that isn't good, but you kind of understand she's not just this evil person roaming around. There really was kind of a story behind her as to why she is the person the way she is. Yes, it's terrible that she does become this really terrible person later in life, but you do kind of see the early years as to why she is the way she is. So for me personally as a viewer, it's a very understandable story. There was also a lot of clever twists and turns along the way. There's one twist in particular that I obviously will not spoil here at all, but I definitely I didn't see it coming at all. It's definitely thrown in the way later part of the movie. When it's thrown at you, you're like, oh, okay, I guess a lot of things that start to make a lot of sense now. There actually was something that was almost going to be a negative in this review, but it actually got fixed through one of the twists that this film did that kind of answered a lot of things that I had a lot of questions about as the movie had its runtime and things like that. So a lot of clever quick twists and turns here that'll definitely keep you guessing and definitely will kind of answer some things, in particular for me, that you might have once had an issue with at the beginning parts of the movie that definitely get resolved in a later part of the movie. The film also has a very interesting use of music. There's definitely a lot of 60s and 70s songs throughout the movie, and they definitely play a role as to what's going on in certain scenes. So I thought the use of music in this film was very clever. They could have probably not have done as much as they did as far as songs go, but I feel there was a really effective scenes here that really used that style and choice very well. So its use of music is very strong when they choose the right moments to do it. Emma Thompson also plays a very strong villain in the film. There's something I'm about to get to in my negatives that I didn't like about her, but it's more so with the script than her performance that I'm going to get into in my negatives. But as a performer and as an actress for this character, 100% nailed the role. There's definitely a very unlikable quality to this character that they definitely were trying to go for, and you can 100% see how Cruella de Vil became the person she did through this character, who she once idolized and things like that. So Emma Thompson plays a great villain here. I was extremely happy with her performance, and I'm always happy with her as an actress, but she really, in particular, nailed the role in this movie, too. But for my negatives of this movie, I thought Emma Thompson's villain, going back to what I was just mentioning earlier, I thought her intelligence was a little inconsistent because she's really good about fashion design and creatively choosing things, and she knows how to do specific measurements for things that she likes for lunch and things like that. But how could she not catch on to the fact that Cruella and Estella were one and the same person? So there's times like that in the movie's like, well, wait, that's clearly the person who's working for you. How are you not catching on to that? Um, yeah, sure, she's wearing a little mask for some of the dresses at some of these parties, but it's just like, how could you not catch on that that's somebody that directly works for you each and every day? So, for being this really intelligent, evil character, it really kind of felt silly to me that she didn't catch on as quickly as she did. So I thought that aspect of the film, as far as the script goes, could have been better and could have gave her more props as far as a more intelligent take goes. I also do feel there is one too many montages in this movie. Yeah, they're useful and they're helpful at times. They definitely quicken the pace on certain things because this is a very long movie. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes roughly. So you definitely, as a director, have to decide what can I shorten, what can I lengthen, and things like that. But some of the montages, unfortunately, do kind of shorthand some of the aspects of the story, I feel. So I thought that aspect of the film could have been improved because I would have liked to have seen psychologically what was going on with Cruella and her burglar friends on some of these moments in this movie where they're trying to kind of take over a party and things like that. So I thought one too many montages was here. I would have preferred more of a traditional story on some of those montages instead of just montage, 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 montage. I thought that would have been a better way to approach the movie. But another negative I have with the movie is that it's really not clear how Cruella has all this money to make all these dresses for these parties that she goes to. I don't know if she stole the money. I don't know if her burglar friends stole the money. Because in the film, they always talk about how expensive these dresses are to make and how her designers have to work around the clock to kind of get these dresses to go for these big parties. So if Emma Thompson's villain's character has all these people working for her, like literally a whole room full of people making these dresses, how could Cruella make it all by herself in one day and things like that? And how could she have the money all by herself? Because clearly she's not making as much as her boss is. So how is she making all this money to make all these dresses? So some things like that really are kind of pushed to the side, and certain details are kind of pushed to the side. I thought could have been better for the movie. It would have explained the movie a little bit better, but maybe that was just me. But overall, I'm going to give Cruella 8.5 out of 10. I highly recommend this movie. I think it's very, very good. Definitely lived up to the hype because I really like the trailers for this film, and I like those older 101 Dalmatian movies. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. I highly recommend Cruella. Be sure to check this one out if you like 101 Dalmatians.